Hi, welcome back. I'm Chuan Ren, aerospace and defense journalist, and good to see you again. With the National Day just went past not too long ago, I thought it'd be great to talk about the National Day parade that was held in the National Stadium for the first time in 10 years. I have seen mixed feelings about how was this year's NDP like as a parade, but I just want to focus on the parade and ceremony segment, which is also known as a PNC segment. Some of you have pointed out some issues and observations with the PNC, which was obviously quite different from the usual PNC setup and protocol. Let me probably first touch on what's different this year based on what we see. Number one was, of course, the protocol and the sequencing of events. Usually the parade regimental sergeant major, RSM, will call in the parade, where all the supporting contingents like your NCC, your uniform groups, and your commercial and civilian contingents will march in and form up. I have included photos from the 2025 parade as a reference, by the way. He will then hand over the command to the parade commander, who will then call in the Guard of Honours, the regimental colours, and the state flag into the parade grounds. During this time, the supporting contingents will stand at attention as the three contingents march in. And of course, this year, this entire sequence is thrown out the window. We see that the parade commander calling in the GOH first, who then comes in, then followed by the supporting contingents, who in a way half march from the rear of the stadium and up the stage. Next, the setup of the parade is of course quite different. The number of supporting contingents has obviously lessened. If I count properly, there's only 16 of them this year, compared to 34 contingents in 2025. Of course, we can say that 2025 is a milestone year, but it shows the scale and the difference between the 2 years and the two different venues. The combined band, which is the SAF band and the supporting bands, are also weirdly set to the side of the stage, which in my opinion is quite unsightly. The sizing of the GOH is very different. In the past, a typical GOH contingent is about 5 rows, each with 20 columns. This year, we see 3 rows with 24, which is very, very long. It is so long that the SAF March Tentara Singapura was played 3 times during the March Past before the transition to the police march. Well, in some ways, sharp-eyed viewers will also notice that the parade commander is much closer to the VIP stands than before, which is a tighter space. This resulted in viewers from the television seeing camera crew more often cutting into the parade square than before. So what actually happened and what changed? I think the biggest issue is that fixed stage that cut across the entire floor space of the stadium. Obviously, the previous NDPs didn't have such a weird setup. The problem with this stage is that it literally cuts the parade square into 2, and any other contingents on the other side of the stage, assuming there's one, will technically be not part of the parade itself, and you will not be able to see whatever is in front. The size of the stage also meant that there are less people that can be on top of the stage, which resulting in less supporting contingents, and not to mention that they cannot march up the stairs, and instead they have to, in a way, walk up the stairs. The show designers of this year obviously want to use the stadium to make it like a concert arena style show, which is not designed for a traditional parade setup. But then again, to give credit to the stadium, the acoustics of the stadium is actually quite solid. Making all marches and anthems sounds pretty good and rousing. Next, I also hear theories that because of the participation of the Singapore Disability Sports Council as a contingent, how the parade is being formed up and much of is different, although we cannot independently verify that. But of course I have to applaud the inclusivity ambition of having them part of the parade. Now this comes a problem because the participation of the Disability Sports Council this year as a supporting contingent will now set a precedence, and the question now lies if they will be a permanent fixture for future NDP, or is it just a one-off for this year's NDP at the stadium, because we also know that it is more like a sports team NDP. So in 2027, we are expected to have a massive parade for NS 60 years of anniversary for the National Service. So I think that the parade setup will be very big and more formal. So will they form part of the parade remains to be seen. And I think that's something that the planners have to think about quite carefully. I think before I sign off, I also want to commend the Guard of Honor for their solid marching this year. And of course the servicemen and women who contributed to NDP on and off the stage, and the many weekends that they have spent on to support this parade. I also want to give another shout out to Chief of Defence Aaron Beng. If you actually watch the parade all the way to the end, at the end of the parade where the president was shaking hands with the participants, Vice Admiral Beng was actually giving a president a tap on the back so that he doesn't miss out on some of the children who wish to shake hands with the president as he was looking away and speaking to other participants. So here's my short take on the PNC segment of NDP 2026. And I hope to hear your comments, and please share how you feel about this year's parade segment. Thank you and see you soon.